Lil Durk crib. He heard the window bust. Him and India was in the house. They had called the police once they heard the window break. India had shot at the guys, and then Lil Durk picked up the gun. According to him, while he was a convicted felon, he told the police that he had shot, laid down, and shot at the intruders. They jumped over the gate. We seen the body cam where Lil Durk said that he shot at them, and it was three masked men, and they jumped over the gate. That's called.
Wait, so that's when Lil Durk house got broke into. Gotta stop. Oh, and him and his girl had shot at the people or something.
Furthering an investigation. Your lawyer know everything because Lil Durk didn't even tell Drew that the feds found 10 guns. All right, so the problem with this argument is the exception applies to an officer's reasonable steps to secure a scene to preserve evidence while they awaited a warrant. Riley versus California. All right, the restraint at issue
My bad, child. I was supposed to keep ski on, but I started smoking. My bad.
was tailored to the law enforcement need being.
The GS3 Report TV. Uh, what's going on, you guys? I'm here to give you some news that you can use, and I don't want you guys to abuse. How y'all doing today, chat? I want to get into this trenches news today. What's going on, chat? We getting into the trenches news today. About this Lil Durk case, and it has gotten real for Lil Durk. It has gotten real for Lil Durk. Now let's get into it.
You want to support me? Go to Nene Marie 37 on IG and purchase a signed copy of my book. That's how you support me. Make sure you smash that like. Trenches News 383. Oh, it's your boy Trenches News, and I'm back at y'all with another one. I appreciate all the support. Thanks for everyone who subscribed to the channel. If you ain't subbed to my channel, make sure you do. Make sure you join the membership. Shout out to all my mods and wrenches. Remember, if you got anything extra, I said extra, not food, hygiene, clothes, bag it up, take it outside, and give it to the less fortunate. Remember, we all one step away from being homeless. Mother Nature.
Facts. Facts. We are all one step away from being homeless. Facts.
Could come destroy everything, and now you're homeless. So make sure you get back. Let's say the kids, the women, the elderly, the neutrons, and civilians. It's Saturday, y'all. Make sure you keep your head on the swivel. Remember, CPD can't save you or your local police department, so make sure you're aware of your surroundings and know where your kids are. Today on Trenches News. All right, y'all. We talking about Lil Durk. Defended Dirk Banks reply in support of motion to suppress fruits of unlawful seize and search telephone, man. This is due to the home invasion, and the feds got the phone with the Lil Tim and the stalking stuff on the phone, man. Make sure y'all smash that like button so this video get around. If you got Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, Facebook, Market, AJ, he hooked it up. Smash that hype button and that like button. All right, y'all. So we talking about Lil Durk, and this is United States plaintiff versus Dirk Banks. Defended Dirk Banks reply in support of motion to suppress the fruits of unlawful seize and search telephone. Now I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of insight on this. Lil Durk crib. He heard the window bust. Him and India was in the house. They had called the police once they heard the window break. India had shot at the guys, and then Lil Durk picked up the gun. According to him, while he was a convicted felon, he told the police that he had shot, laid down, and shot at the intruders. They jumped over the gate. We seen the body cam where Lil Durk said that he shot at them, and it was three masked men, and they jumped over the gate. That's called.
Wait, so that's when Lil Durk house got broke into. Gotta stop. Oh, and him and his girl had shot at the people or something.
Furthering an investigation. So they had permission, the GBI had permission to seize Lil Durk items. Any items that was in eyesight, they could take. You know what I'm talking about? And then Lil Durk gave them permission, and then they had permission.
One more thing, shout out Lil Durk. His birthday is the same day as mine, October 19th. Free Lil Durk, man. Free Durkio, man. Smirkio.
By him being a felon, you know. So this is Drew clapback to what the Fed's saying. So Drew defended Banks. I mean, this is the Feds, United States plaintiff, defended Dirk Banks' motion. So defended Dirk Banks through his attorneys, Drew Finland, Marissa Goldberg, Brian Steele, and Chrissy O'Connor, hereby files this reply in support of his motion to suppress the fruits of unlawful seize and search phones. So this is what Drew's saying. This reply is based upon the attached memorandum of points and authorities and attached exhibits, the files and records in this case, and such further evidence and argument as the court deems appropriate. All right. The phone unlawfully seizure is not saved by a warrant, exception, or by a later Rockdale warrant. The seizure of Mr. Banks' cell phone was outside of the scope of the Gwinnett County warrant. See docket number 481, Exhibit B, at 6, authorizing seizure of electronic device and any other person belonging to perpetrators may have left behind that would aid the identification of the perpetrators. Mr. Banks' phones was therefore seized in violation of his constitutional rights. Sanford versus Texas, 379 U.S. 47648. The Fourth Amendment, particularly requirement, prevents the seizure of one thing under a warrant describing another. No exception to the warrant requirement applies, and that subsequent Rockdale warrant does not cure the seizure unlawfulness. Plain view. The government contends that plain view exception to the warrant requirement applies to see docket 537. But the plain view doctrine only applies to its items, and items incriminating nature is readily apparent. United States versus Wong. There is nothing apparently incriminating about a cell phone found on the bedside table of a homeowner. The plain view justification fails. See, that's not true because it's saying that anything that's in sight, this is a crime scene. They found blood on the stairs. Lil Durk said he was shooting. Now, if India would have just said she was shooting and Lil Durk would have left it alone, Drew would be right. But by Lil Durk saying that he was shooting, that's probable cause, man. He a felon. He ain't supposed to be around no guns. Your bodyguard ain't there. You say your bodyguard out of town, and then they found 10 guns, which Drew didn't know. That's why it's very important that if you fighting a serious case, hey, you got to let your lawyer know everything, because Lil Durk didn't even tell Drew that the feds found 10 guns. All right, so the problem with this argument is the exception applies to an officer's reasonable steps to secure a scene to preserve evidence while they awaited a warrant. Riley versus California. All right, the restrainer issue
My bad, Chad. I was supposed to keep ski on, but I started smoking. My bad.
was tailored to the law enforcement need being limited in a time scope. Here, cell phone was not secured while an officer obtained it or awaited a warrant that would justify a seizure or search. On the contrary, it was the 5 weeks before any officer saw any additional warrant on his face covered the cell phone search and seizure, neither tailored nor reasonable limit in time scope. Inevitable discovery, the government argues that even if the Gwinnett County warrant did not authorize the phone seizure, that the Rockdale warrant is ultimately obtained 5 weeks later saves the seizure under the discovery doctrine. The Supreme Court has warned that when seized goods are kept in a police possession, it may well be difficult to establish that later lawful seizures is generally independent of an early tainted one. Indeed, that the inevitable discovery case law is aimed at items that would be discovered by lawful process already underway in the time of the unlawful seizure, not one initiated 5 weeks into the continuous unconstitutional possession, during which time the defendant he repeatedly demanded the return of his property. Although suspect statements directing officers to child body were unlawfully obtained, a systematic search of the area by 200 volunteers had already been initiated at the time of the statement, where the driver of the car was placed under arrest. That's just giving out what's the name. So finding that the suppression was unwarranted because there are unlawful search occurred, agent had already prepared a near complete warrant application. Officers were 5 weeks away from seeking a second warrant when the cell phone was unlawfully seized. The exception does not apply here. So Drew going over this and saying that it was unlawful and all that, but 5 years and Lil Durk didn't go for his phone. That's according to the feds. That's according to the GBI. Lil Durk never reached out to them to ask for his phone back. He had to come down there. You can't send no lawyer and you the one who gave them permission. Once you get in permission of a crime scene and you a felon at that, bro, like the rules being. All right, the FBI search and seizure is not saved by the good faith. The constitutional violations in this case continue well beyond July and August of 2021. Imposes upon law enforcement a duty to sort and segregate reasonable, properly responsive from a non-responsive seized material. That did not happen here. There's no evidence that any GBI agent made any effort to determine what data which data was. Laptop computers, iPads, and like are simultaneously offices and personal diaries. They contain the most important intimate details of our lives: financial records, confidential business documents, medical records, and private emails. This type of material implicates the Fourth Amendment, specific guaranteed of the people's right to be secure in their papers. So Drew going over all this is for nothing, man. It's like nothing. Then it keeps on going. Before the court admits any data from the digital device, Mr. Banks requests that the evidentiary hearing on what efforts, if any, the GBI made to sort responsive from non-responsive documents, and when, if each sorting happened, which of the data was deemed responsive. I think Drew barking up the wrong tree right now, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. He barking up the wrong tree. All right, it said, so the paperwork described a multi-jurisdictional investigation into a gang-related violence and a murder for hire. It describes Mr. Banks' allegedly affiliation by OTF and Black Disciples, the murder of his brother, and the room and bounty that Mr. Banks put out in order to avenge his brother's death, also known as the Chicago incident that has been frequently discussed during the prosecution. This is more than a threshold nexus of time, place, and purpose between the 2021 seizure of Mr. Banks' cell phone and the current case. The state authorized were actually investigating largely the same criminal activity as the federal authorities do now. Because of this, under Medina, and the court must hold an evidentiary hearing before admitting evidence unlawfully seized by state authorities. At the hearing, it is the government burden to show the evidence admissible accord. So that's what they said. B, the good faith doctrine does not apply when a reasonable, well-trained officer would have known the search and seizure was illegal under Biden case law. So they saying that the seizure was illegal and all that. And the judge just said in court with Drew, he told them that it ain't got nothing to do with the GBI. They got it in good faith. It ain't got nothing to do with that, bro. The phone gonna get in there, y'all. I'm telling y'all. So it say constitutional violations pervade the more than 5 years since the telephone was taken from Mr. Banks' home. For the foregoing reasons, he requested all evidence obtained from the unlawful seized and searched cell phone be suppressed. The feds got their own warrant. So that's what Lil Durk saying. That's what Drew is saying. And Lil Durk called the police on himself. If Lil Durk wouldn't have called the police and still like a gangster, nobody wouldn't have known that the robbery even happened. First of all, no neighbors ever called GBI, the Rockdale police, or none of that. Mr. Banks in India called. The guys, they locked down the perimeter, and then they told Lil Durk on body cam. They told Lil Durk that what happened. They asked him what happened. Now, I would agree with Drew if Lil Durk never said anything. He wouldn't have said nothing. I don't think Lil Durk supposed to wait around to be there after the shots was fired. I don't. Hey, look. Long as you know India good, call the police and have India sitting there. I would have been gone. I would have been gone the opposite way of where the people who try to run in my crib back, because I know I'm a felon. And then if I'm knowing that I got 10 guns in the house, Drew ain't bringing that up, and Drew don't want the GBI to get on the stand, and them have to call the GBI to the stand, and then the GBI say they found 10 guns in Mr. Banks' house. They found this in Mr. Banks' house. Now it's gonna rock his world, man. I just think, man, it's a bad idea. And I still can't believe that why pick Drew as your lawyer. I hear people saying Donald Trump, man, but Donald Trump ain't doing no pardons, bro. For no double two murder for hires, two killings and all that. Crossing state lines and all that. He ain't doing all that, bro. Lil Durk ain't his friend, bro. And he ain't doing it for Drew. I could see if it was like a murder or something, and then they ain't had no evidence or something like that, bro. Nah, this shit, 20 witnesses, and then if it's 20 witnesses on this case, it's gonna be 40 witnesses on the Vicar and a racketeering and Weatherspoon case in Atlanta. So that's gonna be vicious right there. But what's crazy to me is now King Von. It seemed like King Von was into it with NBA YoungBoy before Quando Rondo. Quando Rondo just happened to get caught because he ended up taking up for YoungBoy. And he said something to Reese, and Von was like, when we catch you, it's on sight. But the beef was between him and YoungBoy. I just want to know.
Okay, Chad, we're gonna go on and end that there, man. The DS3 report, and I'm here to give you some news that you can use, and I don't want you to abuse. Shout out to the Trenches News. If you guys want to get into this content, you can pull up on the Trenches News. He has it on his page. Let me show you guys his page. Shout out Trenches News. Here's his page if you want to pull up and get the rest of this Lil Durk case. Now, like, comment, subscribe, and we're gonna keep good vibes. And you know the slogan at the end of the day, that they gotta end, mud.